Hi, this is Ryan Honnell. We're conducting an interview today for the Veterans History Project, which will be submitted to the Library of Congress. First, can you tell me, state your name
My name is James McDonald. Everybody calls me Jim.
and where were you born?
I was born in Roseau.
Okay. Who are or were your parents, and what are or were their occupations?
My parents have both passed away. My dad's name was Norman. My mom's name was Elma. And my mom worked at Polaris for quite a few years. I couldn't tell you exactly how many. My dad was a diesel mechanic, and he worked some in Alaska on a gold dredge.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I do. I have two sisters and one brother. One of my twin brother passed away about 2 years ago. All of siblings lived nearby in Greenbush and Roseau.
Okay, did any of them serve in the military?
No, my brother Jack did, yes. He was in the National Guard for a few years.
Okay. What were your parents or siblings' feelings about you joining the service?
I think my dad thought it was a great idea, but my mom didn't really want me to go.
Okay. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
My mom really loved us kids, and she didn't want us to leave home even. She didn't want us to move out of her house, but we did, and we got by, but we always visited and tried to be there as much as we could for our parents.
Okay. What primary and secondary schools did you attend, or any college?
I graduated from Roseau High School in 1959, and in 1960 I attended Bemidji State College.
Okay. What kinds of jobs, if any, did you hold prior to entering the military?
Prior, I worked on several different farms in the area, and I worked at a company west of town for Allen Atteen Northern Upholstery.
Okay. Now we're going to transition into your early days of service. Can you tell us about when you went into the military?
I joined the service in February 27th of 1962. And I went with two other guys from Roseau here on the buddy plan, with Gail Olson and Errol Johnson. And we were close friends, and we went through boot camp together.
Okay. What do you mean by the buddy plan?
They called it the buddy plan. If you joined with somebody else and went in the same day, they called it the buddy plan.
Okay. What branch were you in?
I was in the United States Navy.
Okay. And why did you join?
I really couldn't tell you exactly the answer, but at the time, I just felt it was a thing to do. I didn't care for college, and I didn't have a job, so I thought, well, this would be a good time to serve my time.
Okay. Were you married or have a fiance when you went in?
No.
Okay. Why did you choose the branch that you did?
Actually, it's kind of a strange story. It's when John Kennedy became president, to enlist in the service, it was 4 years. And when he got into office, very shortly after he got into office, he decided to change it to a 3-year plan for the Navy. So that was one of the things that three of us decided to do.
Okay. And what type of training or schooling did you have when you went into the military? Oh no, sorry, let me scratch that. What type of training or schooling did you have while you were in the military?
In boot camp, we had several training sessions. I went to firefighting training. Of course, we all had to go out to the rifle range and qualify. So that was a training. And I served on I don't even remember what you call it, it's been so many years ago, but pretty much all I did was go to graduations and lead. So I was pretty privileged and lucky.
Yeah. What is your most vivid memory of your time in training?
I think being picked to be a leader was quite an honor.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, a lot of officers watched us march, and they would go through, I don't know how many thousand of us were in boot camp, but they'd pick out certain ones to be on the, I don't, honor. Anyway, then we would march in front of these officers, and they would pick out so many of the group to be leaders, and I got to be a battalion commander, which was pretty high, and I felt very, very, very proud of that.
Okay, what was the best part in training?
The best part, I think, was just knowing so many good people in our company and making a lot of good friends.
Okay, and what was the worst part?
I think the worst part for me was when I first started was going out on the parade field at 4 a.m. and marching.
Okay. Does any particular instructor stand out while you're in basic training?
Yeah, our company commander was a guy from Tennessee, and he was, I think our company was the last of his, and he was really a character, and he treated us well, and we liked him.
What was your first assignment after basic training?
I went directly to the aircraft carrier USS Coral Sea.
Okay. Did you receive any specialized training after basic training?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you qualify with any equipment, such as vehicles, aircrafts, radios, weapons, or anything else?
Not really, but I did learn a lot of those things you mentioned just by doing it.
Okay. What was it like using that equipment?
I think it was very exciting and fun, and I enjoyed it, and I tried to do the best that I could.
Okay. While you were serving, did you receive any promotions?
Yes, I was tested, and I went from seaman to first class, from first class to second class petty officer.
Okay. Can you tell me about each rank?
I think the biggest change when you change ranks was the pay grade.
Okay. What was the hardest part of military life that you had to adapt to?
I think being a 19-year-old from Roseau, Minnesota, and being in a big city and coming onto a large aircraft carrier, it just, you wondered kind of why were you there?
What was the easiest part of the military?
I think my main job, working in a control tower, and I got to know a lot of officers, which were very nice people, and we got quite close. It was very enjoyable.
Can you tell us a little bit more about, you worked in the control tower. Can you tell us a little bit more what your daily duties would have been a typical day?
My daily duties were, well, they called us air controllers, but actually we didn't do a lot of air control. We kept stats. Matter of fact, we had a thing hanging over our head with about 3 microphones and 3 different headphones. And we'd pull that down over our head so we could talk to pilots' ready rooms. We could listen to the pilots, and we listened to the air bosses. And at the same time, we're writing backwards on a status board, so the air boss and the assistant air boss could read, you know, which planes were in the air, who the pilot was, how much fuel they had, what time they left, and their estimated time of arrival back. And just keeping all those records is kept us busy, and
Yeah.
it was fun.
So you had a glass wall you had to write on, and then you would have somebody on the other side of the wall, so you had to write backwards.
That's
for you
right.
to understand it.
Yeah, it was a somehow a lighted board. They call it the status board, and it was set up to have all that information, and it was a learning experience.
Where did you serve?
All over the West Pacific. I made 2 cruises to the West Pacific, to Japan, the Philippines. Oh, I couldn't even name all the places we went, but the best place that I ever went was we harbored in Sydney, Australia. And if people don't know, the USS Coral Sea was one of the ships that saved Australia from the Japanese in the war. And they treated us like kings. I mean, they just were super, super nice to us.
Okay. Were you in any type of combat role, such as combat support or combat service support role?
A combat service on an aircraft carrier. We were just off the coast of Vietnam, and we sent a lot of aircraft in. All the squadrons were involved, and some would get shot with holes in them, and they come back, and some never came back. And there were some kind of sad times when pilots that you did know did not come back from their mission.
Go ahead, if you want to ask. How did your combat experience change you?
We weren't very well informed of what was going on in the war, but we knew we were part of it. I didn't see any real action other than the planes that went in, and I feel proud that you're part of trying to do something for our country and other countries.
What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you form while you were serving?
I made a lot of friends. I haven't kept very much in touch with any of them, but some of them were very high-ranking officers that I got to be friends with because of my job, and also the guys that I worked with. As a matter of fact, one of them, I was the best man at his wedding, and just made a lot of good friends, a lot of good people.
Can you tell me about any particular individuals?
Well, the guy that I was the best man at the wedding, his name was Jerry Day, and he had a nickname for me, but I'm not even going to say what that was. And we did a lot of things when we'd leave the ship and go out on liberty. We would do a lot of things together. And I had a couple of other friends, one from Tennessee and one from North Carolina. And we just did a lot of stuff together. We became pretty close friends.
You probably went on shore leave.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about that experience and where you went and what you did?
I think shore leave, depending on where you were. Our home port was Alameda, California, which was right next to Oakland, California, and across the bay from San Francisco. So when we were there, we would take a ferry across the bay to San Francisco and spend a lot of time there on liberty. And when we were overseas, our home port was Yokosuka, Japan. And when we were over in the West Pacific, that's where we parked and got to spend our liberty time. And there were so many things to see, so many places to go. I went to Hong Kong and Yokosuka and tried to go to different places so I could just say I've been there.
Okay. When you were in Japan, that was pretty shortly after World War II. What was it like there? What were the people like? How did they treat you?
I think the people treated us fine. There were places we weren't allowed to go, but I think overall it was not a problem. We were always told that don't go anywhere by yourself. Try to have 2 or 3 or 4 of us together, just in case there was a problem. You didn't ever want to be alone.
Were there any problems for anybody?
The group I was with, we went up into the hills out of Hong Kong, and there were people living in cardboard boxes. You know, we didn't really enjoy seeing that, and if we had a candy bar or something in our pocket, we would give it to a little kid or something, and there were people that didn't want us to do that because there was propaganda, a lot of propaganda stuff. So.
How did you stay in touch with your family and friends back home?
Mostly by letter. When we were in port, a phone call, and that's about it.
What did you do for recreation, either on the ship or on shore for, when you were off duty?
Recreation, when we were out at sea, there wasn't a lot of recreation. I think Wednesday nights they had movies down in the hangar deck, so that would be...
What kind of movies were those?
Just about anything. I mean, it was the kind of movies you'd see at the Roseau Theater. They treated us well.
Did you ever have the USO or any organizations like that come out and visit?
We did have some, I don't even remember who it was that came and put on a show on the flight deck, but I think maybe I was not available at that time.
Okay. Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events while you served?
Humorous? I guess I can't think of anything right offhand.
Was there something that you did for good luck while you were serving?
For good luck, we always had towards the end of my time, for good luck, we wore a chain. And every day when we got closer to discharge, we would take one link off the chain. That was for good luck.
What was the best part of your service experience?
I think the best part was my actual duty, working in the control tower. It was something that very few people get to do, and I felt very privileged to do it. And I got to meet a lot of great people doing it, and I enjoyed it.
Now we're going to transition into your end of service time. Do you recall the day that your service ended?
Yes, I do. While we were off the coast of Vietnam, and I was due to fly off, catapult off the aircraft carrier. I think the first 3 times I'm standing with my duffel bag, to get on the plane to go, and a higher up person, officer, would show up and take my seat. So I missed 3 flights, and that was very disgusting. I think the 4th flight, and I got on the plane, and we got launched off of the plane. We flew into the Philippines, and I spent 1 night there. And from there, I went into California, went to Treasure Island, is where I actually got discharged.
What is Treasure Island?
Treasure Island it's a Navy base. I don't know what all they do there because we weren't there long enough to learn much, but that was where people being discharged would gather there. I don't know if everyone, but most of them, I believe.
What did you do right when you were discharged? Did you return home or did you go somewhere else?
One of the guys that went in with me to boot camp was discharged the same day, and him and I drove back. I had a 57 Chevy convertible, which was pretty rare, but I made a little extra money.
Okay. How were you received when you got home by your family and the community?
My family was glad to see me, of course. The community, not great, but they weren't mean or anything. But on the way home, when we first got discharged, we were told, don't wear your uniform. First thing you do is you go get some civilian clothing, because there'd been incidents throughout the country where they were not treating military guys very well at that time.
And what year was that when you got out?
That was in 1965.
Okay. How did you readjust to civilian life? Did you go to work right away, or did you go back to school?
I pretty much went to work wherever I could find a job. I had several different jobs. I worked in Minneapolis for a company called Graco. I had a friend there, and my foreman of the department I was in was an old Roseau guy. So when we put our applications in, he said, "You're from Roseau, you're hired." Because I think we had a good reputation for workers.
Sure, yep. Did you have the GI Bill when you were in?
There was a GI Bill, but I never used any of it.
Okay. How do you think the service changed you?
I think it made you appreciate your country and your fellow man. It just made you grow up.
Did you join any veterans organizations when you got back?
Actually, I tried, and I wasn't treated great.
Okay. Can you say anything about that?
Well, the guy who was working at the American Legion asked me if I was a member, and I said no, but. I was going to say no, but I would like to join, and then he told me to get out the door. So I left for 8 years.
Okay. Did you continue to have any friendships with those you served with afterwards?
Not really. I attempted to, but it just didn't seem to work out because they were so far away, and it just didn't happen.
How did the service affect the way that you relate to others?
I think it made you appreciate other people and realize that there are a lot of great people in our country.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
I think when you went to different jobs, which I went to a few different ones, it was easy to meet people. It was easy to become friends with them because of the service. I think it just made you that way.
Okay. Now we're going to move into reflections. How did your military service experiences affect your life?
I think overall, it just made you a better person, made you realize a lot of things, living in a small town and going to all the places in the country that you went, halfway around the world. That the world is big, but it's not as big as you think.
What are some of the life lessons that you learned from your military experience?
Ooh, life lessons. I think life lesson would be to respect people and to be a better listener and learn from other people.
What would you say to young folks that are thinking about joining the military? Would you encourage that service, or?
Things have changed a lot since I was in, and the way it was when I was in, I would encourage them. Today, I think maybe for some people it's even better, because I think the pay is just a wee bit better.
Certainly. How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
I think the military in general is quite similar to when I was in. They're all in to serve their country. As far as wars are concerned, I can't say that I could like a war. Wars are bad for a lot of people, and I don't like to see that. I feel bad that countries are suffering because of it.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear this interview?
I hope they can appreciate all military people and treat them with respect and support them in every way.
Now we're going to move into the conclusion. And thank you so much for sharing what you did.
Sure.
There's just a few more questions I've got before we end. Is there anything you would like to add that we haven't covered in this interview?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything right offhand.
Okay. Is there anything you've always wanted to share about your service or veteran experience that you haven't before?
I think just when you get in, do the best that you can. And I think people will recognize that and they will do things for you. No matter where you're from or what your name is or who you are, that just be brave and say, well, if all those guys can do it, I can do it too.
Okay. What would you like people to know or remember from the story you've told today?
I think just to remember that military it's not a bad thing. It can be a real good thing if you put your heart into it and do the best you can.
Okay. What do you wish more people knew about veterans?
I think it's that they have given up part of their life to be in the service, and they're doing it because I think most of them are in there because they love their country and they want to do something for them, and you'll sacrifice what you have to for that reason.
Okay. What veterans organizations are you currently a part of?
I'm a life member of the VFW, and I'm a veteran or a member of the American Legion, and I think I'm very close to 50 years.
Okay. What positions have you held in those organizations?
In the American Legion, I've served all the chairs local, from chaplain to sergeant at arms to commander, and I've always been proud of that. In the VFW, it's hard to be very active in more than one organization, especially when you have a full-time job. So I've kind of spent more time at the Legion than the VFW, but I'm proud to be a member of both.
What would you say to veterans that have served since you served, as far as continue to be involved in the veteran community or military affairs?
Well, I would say that all veterans who are discharged from the service, that they're very welcome to the veterans organizations, whether you're young or if you've been out for several years, you're still welcome. And we appreciate people being members. And if you want to be active, you can. If you don't want to, you can just be a member.
So there's more to do than just parades and meeting at the Legion. There's more that a person could do.
Oh, there's more you can do. You can be a member of the Honor Guard, which I have been for I don't know how many years, where we participate in military funerals. I've been on the firing squad for many, many years. And actually in Roseau here, in our post, we have as many as 24 to 26 guys that show up. And we're pretty proud of that.
Good. Well, this pretty much concludes. Is there anything else that you would like to say about anything?
Just that I think just in the recent years, people have learned to appreciate veterans more than they did back in 1965. I have so many people that come up to me and say, thank you for your service. It's just heartwarming, and I think that's a wonderful, great thing that's happening in our country.
Well, this concludes the interview. Thank you, Jim.
You're very welcome.